Have you ever just known something without knowing how you knew it? It wasn't a guess. It wasn't something you worked out step by step. It just arrived. Like a flash. A quiet certainty. A deep inner voice that said, "This is the way." You didn't plan it. You didn't analyze it. You didn't even ask for it. But it came. This strange knowing that flows through us when we're not trying is what we call silent cognition. It's not magic. It's not madness. It's something far older than thought. A hidden current underneath the surface of the mind. And it shows up not just in monks or mystics, but in soldiers, scientists, artists, and ordinary people, especially when the stakes are high and the mind becomes quiet. Let's explore this mysterious kind of intelligence together. Let's listen to the mind beneath the mind. When we think of inner stillness, of deep insight, we often imagine monks sitting in meditation or sages wandering the mountains. And yes, it does live there, but it also lives somewhere else. It lives in the battlefield. It lives in crisis. It lives in chaos, where the stakes are life and death, and thinking too long could mean losing everything. Take Erwin Rommel, the legendary German general of World War II. His fellow officers said Rommel could read the battlefield like a living organism. He didn't just study maps, he felt the enemy's next move. Or Napoleon Bonaparte, who was known for making complex decisions instantly, almost as if the answer was whispered to him. People said he had a sixth sense. He called it his coup d'œil, a sudden vision, a flash of total clarity. Go back even further to Hannibal, the Carthaginian general who crossed the Alps with elephants to surprise Rome. His moves made no rational sense on paper, but he knew they would work, and they did. These men weren't just brilliant strategists, they were intuitive. They operated from a kind of mind that skipped logic and went straight to understanding. This is what we call a cognitive bypass. Usually we're taught to think in a straight line, step by step, first this, then that. But sometimes the mind takes a leap, it jumps, and suddenly we land on an answer as if we've always known it. This is the cognitive bypass, when the mind skips the process and goes straight to the result. Not by mistake, but through something deeper than logic. Like Archimedes, who leapt from a bath shouting "Eureka!" because he felt the truth about volume and water displacement. Or Ramanujan, the Indian mathematician who received complex equations in his dreams, truths even seasoned scholars couldn't explain. He once said his goddess gave him the formulas. Whether you believe that or not, one thing is clear. He didn't derive those insights from textbooks. They came from somewhere beyond the surface mind. This kind of knowing isn't irrational. It's non-rational. It bypasses the normal rules of thought and dives into something far more mysterious. Something beyond the ego, beyond time, and sometimes even beyond language. It's not just soldiers or scientists who feel this. Artists live here too. Mozart said his symphonies came to him fully formed. He didn't invent them, he received them. Bob Dylan, when asked where his most poetic lyrics came from, said, "It's like I'm just a conduit. I don't know where it comes from." David Lynch, the filmmaker, talks about diving deep into a kind of inner ocean where images and ideas appear, floating to the surface. And it's not only in music or film. Mendeleev, the scientist who created the periodic table, said he saw it in a dream after struggling for years to organize the elements. He didn't calculate it, he saw it. It arrived. It feels almost like a gift. And it is. A gift from the silent layers of the mind we rarely access in daily life. From the part of us that's always watching, quietly, waiting. And when the time is right, it speaks. Even philosophers, those known for thinking, have admitted The deepest truths don't come from thought. Baruch Spinoza called it intuitive science, a level of knowing that wasn't learned but seen directly. David Hume doubted the power of logic to explain reality at all. He said our minds are led by habit, not reason. And Martin Heidegger said that truth is something that reveals itself when we are quiet enough to let it appear. Modern psychology supports this too. Gary Klein, a psychologist who studied firefighters and emergency workers, discovered something amazing. When in danger, these people didn't sit and analyze. They didn't list pros and cons. They just acted. But their actions weren't random. They were right. Klein realized they were operating from years of inner pattern recognition, so deeply learned it had become silent knowledge. The thinking part shut off. The deeper mind took over, and it worked. One of the most fascinating things about these moments of deep insight is how they seem to ignore time. There's no process, no waiting. The answer comes all at once, as if the future is already here. This might sound strange, but many mystical traditions and even modern science suggest that time is not as real as we think. It's a structure our mind uses to organize experience. We think we're moving through time, but really we're just remembering and anticipating, while all experience is actually happening now. And in certain moments, meditation, deep trauma, mystical insight, time can seem to dissolve. Past, present, and future merge. And in that timeless stillness, truth can appear. Not slowly, instantly, not built, revealed. Imagine your thoughts like clouds. They move fast, they change shape, they cast shadows. Now imagine a sky, vast, blue, open. That sky is your deeper mind. Most of us live inside the clouds. But insight comes when we remember the sky. When we stop chasing the next thought, the next solution, the next idea, and instead let the mind become spacious. This is what happens in deep meditation, or sometimes in a forest, watching the trees, or staring at the ocean, or lying awake at 3 a.m. when all the noise dies down, and suddenly a truth comes, not because you tried, but because you were quiet enough to hear it. Sometimes the only way we reach this silence is through pain, a sudden loss, a betrayal, a breakdown. Moments when the mind gives up because it simply can't go on. And in that collapse, something new emerges. Insight, clarity, peace. This doesn't make suffering worth it, but it does show us something. That the deepest wisdom often lives on the other side of control, when we can't figure it out. When the ego has failed, when we're finally empty. That's when the truth walks in. That's when the voice inside says, "You already know." Let's go back to where we started, to the generals who made impossible decisions in silence, to the artists who received visions instead of making them, to the philosophers who surrendered logic in search of being, to the moments in your own life when you just knew. This is silent cognition. It doesn't need you to be smart, or spiritual, or special. It just needs you to be quiet, to be still, to be open. Because the most important truths, the ones that move your life, the ones that shape your soul, don't shout, they whisper. And if you can be quiet enough, you will hear them. You don't need to force your life forward. You don't need to chase every answer. You don't need to be the thinker all the time. Sometimes the wisest thing you can do is stop. Stop chasing, stop fixing, stop trying to make sense of everything, and just listen to the wind, to your breath, to the silence within. That's where the truth lives. That's where the next step is waiting. Not in thought, but in presence. Not in words, but in knowing, and not from you, but through you. So take a breath, take a step back, and let the silence speak, because when it does, you will remember you always knew, You just forgot how to hear it.